Welcome back to my channel, guys. My name is Lewis, and today I'm going to be doing a tier list about Disney villains. So if you're like me and you watch a lot of Disney movies, you're probably familiar with most of these characters. I'm going to say right out of the gate, I am not familiar with all of them, but most of them. So don't at me if I don't know their names. I am familiar with all of them. I may or may not have seen the movies, but in most cases I have. Anyways, the ratings today are not based on my general favorites or who I think is better as a villain. I am rating them based on how forgivable they are, because there's a lot of debate online about various villains and who's misunderstood, who's just pure evil. So I'm going to rate them in order of what I believe. This list is lacking a few villains who I would like to rate, but that doesn't matter. Anyways, we're going to get on with it here, and we're just going to start with the order in which I see them. So, right out of the gate, we have the Witch Sisters from Hocus Pocus. I do like that movie a lot. Don't ask me their names. But they are witches, and they did do some pretty terrible things, a lot of which you don't hear about. I would say they're probably literally irredeemable, just because they're just evil witches. They do bad things for the sake of it, right? Like, that's just a witch. The cats from Lady and the Tramp. Uh, they're house cats, right? So I have to just give them a warning. I can't punish them, so I just let them go with a warning. The ugly stepsisters, Drizella and Anastasia. Um, I would. They didn't actually do anything illegal. Uh, and if you want to go with the sequels, Cinderella 2 and 3, I think they are forgiven by Cinderella. If that doesn't happen at the end of the first one. But I'm going to say send them to jail. Send those girls to jail, because I don't know, they tried to ruin someone's life. It was essentially like it was abuse. I'll say that. Clayton, yeah, send him to jail. I don't think I could forgive him for poaching like that. The the pipe organ from the Beauty and the Beast Christmas movie. I can't remember his name. Maestro, I think his name was. Uh, I think he was just a dick, right? So he is going to be literally irredeemable, I suppose. Like, I watched that movie one time, and I'm pretty sure he just was an asshole for the sake of it. Don't at me if I'm wrong. Gaston, if you know me personally, you know I have a total bromance, man crush on Gaston, and I completely forgive him. From his perspective, if you think about it, he didn't do anything wrong, and he took on a beast. He took on like a 9 foot tall monster solo. It's like, oh, but he shot him in the back. It's like, yeah, I would too if I was only like a 6'2", weirdly masculine, handsome man who was trying to take on like what is essentially a monster, which, as far as he knows, is really dangerous. Like, he doesn't know what the beast is capable of, and you know, so good on him. I like Gaston. I believe this is the Headless Horseman, and I don't know anything about him. He looks misunderstood. He's missing his head. Uh, I'd let him go with a warning. I don't know what he did. Scared a bunch of people? Stop doing that. Uh, Frollo from The Hunchback of Notre Dame. Uh, Send that man to jail. Uh, I don't understand where he's coming from at all. Just send that man to jail. Kaa, I have to forgive Kaa, right? Because he's a wild animal, and all he's trying to do is get a meal, right? It's like, he almost eats Mowgli, and you can't blame an anaconda for trying to get a feed. I don't know this character's name. I have seen The Rescuers. I just can't remember her name. She commits kidnapping, as far as I understand. I haven't seen that movie in many, many years. Send her to jail, just straight up. Like, whatever she's doing is definitely illegal, and she shouldn't be allowed in the public. Madam Mim, she's a witch, right? So, like, in the same vein as the Hocus Pocus girls, like, I think they're just literally irredeemable. I don't think she will ever turn over a new leaf. I forget the guy's name, but the boss from Monsters, Inc., sent him to jail. Huge scandal. They're kidnapping kids and stuff, and he didn't even seem sorry about it. Oogie Boogie, yeah, he does a lot of terrible stuff, but he is the boogeyman. So it's kind of his job to be the way he is. What else is he going to do, right? So unforgivable, but I understand. Pete, I don't think Pete, you know what, I'd give Pete a warning. Because Pete's just like you and me. He's just a normal guy trying to get by, and he's not actually hurting anyone, usually. So, I don't think he ever commits like a huge crime or kills anyone. So, there's that. Captain Hook. There is a lot of debate about where Captain Hook should probably be on this list. You hear things about how, like, oh, well, that he's got the hook because Peter Pan cut off his hand. You know, it's like he's misunderstood, but he does still try to murder children, so he is actually quite terrible. Radigan, he incites a coup against the British monarchy and attempts to kill many people in order to make that happen. I don't understand where he's coming from, so literally irredeemable. Chernabog, the devil figure from Fantasia, I don't think he actually does anything wrong. Like, he makes a bunch of demons appear, they dance, there's a lot of fire, he laughs about it a little bit. It's a very emotional character. I don't think he did anything wrong, so I'm just going to put him in forgiveness. Cruella de Vil, easily in the most, like, irredeemable spot down here. Literally irredeemable. Like, you can spin a story for every other villain, but she is out to make a coat out of puppies. I bet you can get a lot of fur out of 101 Dalmatians. So I think that would have been overkill. She would have killed an unnecessary amount of puppies, and there's no excuse for that. Just for a fur coat that you're probably going to cycle out in like a month? No. Dr. Facilier, he was just trying to make a living. He made some bad choices, sold his soul to the people on the other side. I think I understand, you know. Unforgivable. He does a lot of terrible things. But he did sell his soul, I assume. And you gotta remember, he's gotta pay his dues, right? He's just trying to look after number one. Hades, if you know anything about Greek myth, you know that Hades really got the short end of the stick. As far as I know, in actual myth, he was actually quite happy to be the king of the underworld. But for what he does in the Disney movies, I'd say unforgivable, but I see where he's coming from. The way they portrayed him in the Disney movie, he did a lot of bad stuff, but he was stewing on having that short stick for quite a while there. Hans of the Southern Isles. So, probably the most iconic, like, twist villain in Disney history. Hans, I understand, honestly. Like, he was a prince, but he was never going to have, you know, his due as a quote-unquote prince living in his own kingdom. So he did what he had to do. He handled it horribly, and so, yeah, I get it. I sort of get it, but you're still an asshole, dude. Jafar, this guy, being the head vizier to a sultan is a pretty cushy position. Like, you already had a lot of power, Jafar. I don't know why you needed so much more. So I would say literally irredeemable. He'd never turn over a new leaf. He would never see the error of his ways. King Candy, this guy, I want to say I understand, right, because he was the Turbotastic guy, right? And his game got, like, shut down because of a new and up-and-coming better game. It's a long-winded sub-story for him, but I don't think it warrants all the bad stuff he does, right? So I'm just going to say he's literally irredeemable. King Louis, dude's forgiven. I don't think he actually does anything wrong. He just wanted to learn how to make fire. He knew he was talking to a human being. He knows those people make fire. Tell me how to do it. I don't think he actually, like, I can't remember. I don't think he actually even threatened Mowgli. So, totally forgiven. He's well within his rights. And, you gotta remember, wild animal. If Mowgli's lucky he didn't come out of that, like, on a stretcher, honestly. Orangutans are dangerous. Lady Tremaine, so if I have to put Drizella and Anastasia to jail, I'm sending Lady Tremaine, for sure. Lock, Shock, and Barrel, you gotta give them a warning. They are pranksters and tricksters. They get up to no good every day of the year, but they are children, so you can't actually send them to jail. They are children, so my logic is you have to forgive them. You have to give them the benefit so that they can grow and become better people. Will they? That's not up to us. I can't remember the bear's name from Toy Story 3. I want to say I understand, but I don't really. But I do think there is a redemption story in there somewhere if he didn't meet the fate that he met. So we'll just send him to jail and let him stew. I think that's supposed to be a heffalump, and from Winnie the Pooh, and I didn't realize that it was actually supposed to be a villain. But because, again, it's kind of like a wild animal, I'm just going to put it in the completely forgiven section right there. Okay, most people will say that Maleficent is totally irredeemable, but, like, when you think about it, she was pretty heavily provoked, right? Like, she wasn't invited to the party, the event, for the birth of Aurora, and it didn't rub her the right way. She probably would have just left everyone alone if they'd given her a little respect. She is incredibly powerful. If I had that kind of power, I'd probably be a little more. My expectations would be higher for how people treat me, but I don't know, because I wear all black and hang out with a crow. Like, that's apparently reason enough to just exclude me from the biggest party of the century. Nuh-uh, no. So I understand. Obviously, she does a lot of bad things, but I understand. Mother Gothel, I do not understand, because that gaslighting nonsense has no place in the modern era, and I don't care if it's set in a ancient world or whatever. Mother Gothel, send her to jail, right? I think she is redeemable, and because she did have, like, this rapport with Rapunzel, I feel like in some facet she must have had feelings, like motherly feelings for Rapunzel, but she still did a really bad thing, so send her to jail. Forever. I'm okay with that. Queen of Hearts, totally forgiven. Uh, as the head of an absolute monarchy in a weird, fantastical dream world, she's fully in her right to do whatever she wants. I don't think that is out of line for me to say. Randall, I'd have to give him a warning. I don't think Randall. Well, you know what? No. Send Randall to jail. I was going to say, I don't think he actually does anything illegal, but he does actually commit kidnapping, and he does try to, like, use that machine on a bunch of people intended for children. So, go to jail. Scar, I empathize for Scar. I really do. Uh, I mean, okay, if you know the story of the Lion King, apparently he's the older brother to Mufasa, and he just got the short end of the stick his whole life. For all intents and purposes, as far as I know, he should have been king. But he gets nothing, so it's like, I can understand trying to incite a coup. So, do I forgive him? No, because he does try to kill a child. So, I send him to jail, I guess. If he had handled things differently, it would have been a very different story. Shan Yu from Mulan, totally forgiven. As a war leader, it's war, man. He doesn't actually do anything wrong. The Huns were at war with China, and his mission was to get the emperor. He did that. He even respected Mulan as a warrior, which was more than anyone else did in that whole movie, right up until the end, when she had to defeat him. So, Shan Yu, totally forgiven. He didn't actually do anything wrong. Shao Kahn, I forgive him, totally. And not just because he's an animal, but there's this part in the Jungle Book where he actually talks to Mowgli, and he tries to reason with Mowgli. He's like, dude, you're a man cub. You should probably just go back to your tribe, right? Like, isn't that where you belong? And Mowgli was all ignorant and arrogant. He's like, nope, I'm going to stay here. And it was only after the fact, much time passes, that Shao Kahn's like, well, if you're going to... I'm sorry, is it Shao Kahn? Shere Khan. He's like, okay, if you're going to be a jungle creature, then I'm going to treat you like one. So totally understandable. Sid from Toy Story. He doesn't actually hurt anyone, and he doesn't know that the toys are alive. You probably shouldn't be so wasteful. You probably shouldn't just break your crap like he does. So I will let him go with a warning. You can't send a kid to jail. Can't forgive him for being so violent, but you do have to be firm with him. Stinky Pete. Again, he doesn't actually do anything wrong. It's weird to try and apply human laws and logic to toys. I would say that going against the whims and desires of Woody and everyone else, just to get what he wants, is pretty unforgivable. He had reasons, so I understand. Is he redeemable? I don't really know, but it is quite unforgivable that he put his own needs ahead of a bunch of other people's, essentially. Tamatoa, I mean, I want to put him up in completely forgiven, but he is more sentient than the average animal. I think he's not even an animal per se, he's more of a monster. He is just doing as he does. He's got a whole personality, and I'm going to say, let him go with a warning. No. We are going to completely forgive Tamatoa, because he's a giant monster. Like, he doesn't have to live by our laws. He's just trying to collect shiny things. He's got a beef with Maui, and we don't know why, but there you go. The evil queen from Snow White, she does try to have Snow White killed, who, as I understand, is like 15 or something, because she's jealous of her beauty, so I don't even understand that. That's just irredeemable. I want to send her to jail, but she tried to kill a child multiple times, even when that child wasn't even in the kingdom anymore. So, Savor from Tarzan, like the rest of the wild animals, completely forgiven. It's just trying to get a feed. It's just reacting the way an animal does. I can't stress that enough. Wild animals are just, you can't blame them. Taka. Well, if you know how that movie goes, I'm not going to spoil it, but Taka is absolutely forgiven. Taka did nothing wrong. I'll say that. If you haven't seen Moana, just watch it. I don't want to spoil anything if you haven't seen these movies. Flotsam and Jetsam, let's send them to jail, honestly. Because they do horrible things for Ursula, so I would call them accomplice to a bunch of horrible crimes that Ursula commits. The Titans, unforgivable, but I understand. They did a bunch of terrible stuff. Zeus put them into lockdown, essentially, and they couldn't do anything for a long, long time. So I understand their actions in the movie. Anything before that, I have no idea. Back to Ursula. I would have to say, I want to say I understand, but I don't. I mean, okay. Okay, when it comes to Ursula, I want to say I understand, because she had this whole history with Triton, who apparently banished her. I think it's kind of ambiguous as to what she did to get banished, just general witchcraft. And, I mean, if Triton's the king, and the king says no, then that's the law, essentially. Okay, I'm not sure who these guys are. I think they might be, like, reference to the 40 Thieves from Aladdin and the 40 Thieves, or the King of Thieves. Uh, so they're essentially just a bunch of bandits, right? Send them to jail. And then we have Robert Callaghan from Big Hero 6. Unforgivable, but I understand he did lose his daughter, and as a parent, I can only imagine the grief that would never, ever leave. So there's that. And then Zira, I think her name is, the villainess from The Lion King 2. She was avenging Scar. She was trying to incite another coup. I think I would have to put her right next to Scar. Send them to jail. Okay, so that is the list completed. Let me know in the comments who surprised you on this list and who you agree with. I am interested to know in what everyone thinks. There are a few villains that I can think of who were just completely left out. I think it would have been a lot more interesting to have a more complete list available. But you gotta work with what you're given sometimes. Anyways, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel. Make sure to hit the bell icon so that you can be notified of future uploads when they make themselves available. And yeah, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time.